Well, hi folks, and welcome back to Handlebars and Holidays. Thanks for joining me again. So you've seen what we're on today. So if the Bmw R1250Gsa Adventure exclusive is of interest to you, stick around. Back in a sec. Okay, so the Bmw R1250Gsa Adventure exclusive. What a monstrous machine this is. Having said that, once you get on board, do you know, it just doesn't feel that monstrous. It's this is an interesting bike for sure. So I've been kind of interested in the BMW GS for some time, and this particular one, well, what can I say? I bought it. This came up, it just happened to be the right age, the right miles, the right condition. So yeah, unfortunately it means the sad demise of the MT-09 SP, which is currently up for sale. I will be very sorry to see that go. But I have been the proud owner of this machine now for perhaps about a week, and really enjoying it. Surprisingly easy to ride these. I did such a lot of research on the GS's and the pros and the cons, and there was just so many pros that I was beginning to convince myself that, you know, this was a bike that I would really enjoy. And when I eventually rode this particular one, was the first GS I've ever ridden, first experience of a boxer engine, so you know, that was in itself, I was a little bit curious how I would get on with that. They're regularly described as tractors and being a bit agricultural, but you know, coming off a Harley background, it was fine. It was absolutely fine. And as I'm just sort of starting to settle into the bike a little bit more now, I'm really beginning to enjoy it. I can see why these bikes are so popular. The general consensus is that the GS 1200 and 1250s are pretty damn good at everything. Maybe not spectacular at everything, to be fair. I mean, nothing's perfect, but I can see why they get the sort of rating, if you like, the following that they do. It's a very, very capable machine. Part of what caught my eye with this particular bike was that it was excessively low mileage. This is a 2019 model, so it's 2.5 years old now. It had only done 6,400 kilometers from new. The previous owner sadly was suffering some health issues, so hadn't used it for a while, and he had spent a few dollars on extras as well. You know, he's got the proper BMW sat nav. He put a Sergeant seat on it, so I've got the original seat and the rider and pillion Sergeant version, which I'm sat on at the moment, and it's considerably more comfortable. Having said that, to be honest, I didn't really experience the standard one too much. I had one quick go on it and then put the Sergeant back on, and it just seems real comfortable, so I'm quite happy to leave that on, to be fair. Bike came with all the genuine BMW aluminium boxes, the two panniers and the top box, which aren't fitted to the bike just at the moment, but massive storage. He's got a Touratech toolbox on there and a few other bits and bobs that you know, all require money having been spent. So the Puig screen in front of me, I mean, as you can tell, I haven't bothered putting my visor down. I've got hardly any wind in my face, so great, absolutely great. I'm really enjoying the bike. I fitted my wireless quad lock charger on there, and one or two other little tiny bits of my own, but yeah, absolutely enjoying it. This is a bike that I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of pleasure out of. And what was interesting was a couple of days ago, took Angie for the first ride on it. Oh, hang on, one of my cameras has slipped down. Okay, we're gonna have to find somewhere to pull in. So yeah, a couple of days ago, took Angie for a quick pillion ride on it. Went for lunch, and really to see what she thought of the seat, see if she thought it was comfortable. And when we got where we were going, I said to her, so what do you think of the seat? And she said, well, I nearly fell asleep. I was struggling to stay awake. She said it's that comfortable. It's definitely the most comfortable bike that she's ever been on the back of. So that's praise indeed, I think. So there's a little car park just up here. We'll just pull in and have a quick wander around the bike, shall we? So here we are. Okay, so we've got the R1250Gsa Adventure Exclusive. If I'm honest, I'm not entirely sure just what the differences are with the Exclusive. I think perhaps just this colour red. I don't know really, to be honest. So in terms of what's this bike got? Well, it's got just about everything, to be fair. Electronically adjustable suspension, full colour TFT, all the bells and whistles, riding modes, cruise control, pretty much everything you could imagine. A few little extras that have been fitted to the bike are the Touratech toolbox there, just for like a first aid kit, or you know, your little pump and things like that, you know, puncture repair kit. These hand guards are upgraded ones. This little thing here can go up or down, and this insert here can be taken out. So in summer you've just got the metal bars just as a protector. And the screen is the Puig one. That's the tall one. Bike actually came with 3 different screens. So there's the original, that tall Puig one for in winter, and a little small one for in summer. We've got the additional driving lights down there, and yeah, pretty much everything ready to go. That's my little bag I've put on the back there just for my camera gear and stuff. My only criticism of the GS, and it's always been the same one, is this piece of scaffolding that you have to have on the back to put the cases on. So the cases just clip on and lock on with your ignition key, as does the top box. But when you unclip them, which is remarkably simple, you are left with that frame, which of course is not symmetrical because it has to go around the exhaust. So yeah, that's the one aspect I'm not too keen on, but everything else is really, really good. The sat nav is superb, keyless ignition, and yeah, everything, the suspension, the modes. When you adjust the riding modes from, say, road to dynamic, it toughens up the suspension. When Angie and I went for a ride the other day, we were describing the road mode as being spongy, so it just soaks up the bumps really nicely. Put it in dynamic and it just feels a little bit sportier. It increases the preload and everything else, and yeah, makes a massive difference. This, being the Adventure, has this spoked wheels, which the spokes sit on the outside of the tyre, so there's still a tubeless tyre, which means if you get a puncture, you can plug them, which is good. So yeah, I'm struggling to find fault. Oh, and that's the Sergeant seat that I mentioned. So there's the rider version and the pillion version, which are height adjustable. So the bike's height adjustable, the seats are height adjustable, so you really can fine tune this machine to suit your requirements. And I think much as they're a nice looking bike, I mean, from the front here, if I just come around the front again, excuse me walking around in circles again and again and again, but if I get down there, let's try and get in a bit closer. It's a monstrous looking machine, isn't it? From the front, they're absolutely huge. So yeah, I'm really pleased. One thing I have noticed, I put new tyres on it as soon as I got it. The tyres were a little bit tired. The back one was pretty much dead. And these are the Anarchy, what were these? Anarchy Adventures, the Michelin Anarchy Adventures, which are a sort of a 80-90% on-road, a little bit of off-road type tyre. They do make a little bit of noise, and I've done a bit of research, and what I've noticed is when you're sitting on the bike, if you look down there, there's quite a big gap, the tunnel, if you will. So the road noise from that front tyre kind of funnels up the tunnel, and people complain about tyres being noisy. I think on the GS, it's not necessarily so much the noise that's coming from the tyre as the fact that the tyre and road noise is kind of pushed up through that tunnel, if you get my meaning. So I've got a bit of a fiendish plan to try and adjust that. I'm working on a bit of a prototype thing to fit in there that might just keep the noise down a little bit, but we shall see. So anyway, yeah, you put the boxes, you put the panniers, which is huge, and the top box on this bike, and it looks absolutely massive. When the first time I rolled it into the garage with the boxes on, I thought, oh my god, I never thought a bike could make the rocket look small. And it did, it absolutely did. So anyway, let's get cracking, let's go and have a bit more of a ride. So I think the other thing that's quite remarkable about the GS, and it's obviously BM's boxer engine that does the trick. The low centre of gravity on this bike makes it so it actually feels, I was out on the bike yesterday and I was trying to think of a way of sort of describing how the GS feels, and it's a little bit like a mid-sized bike. If you think about a 750 or even something like an MT-07 or MT-09 or something like that, in terms of a mid-sized bike that you sit up fairly straight on, if you stuck a great big tank on one of those and some engine bars and a big screen, so it was all big and bulky up front, that's kind of what it feels like, because in terms of the way it moves, because of the low center of gravity, it's so light, it just moves so easily, which is, it's kind of bizarre, you know. I mean, this bike is 268, I think, kilos, so it's a big bike, it's a weighty machine. It's not too difficult to move around the garage, again, because of the low center of gravity, but as soon as you're moving, it's quite amazing, really. In terms of riding in traffic and the sort of slow speed stability, I've never ridden a bike that's anything like close. You can slow right down to about half of walking pace, and it just seems to, it just almost seems to balance itself. It kind of feels a little bit like stabilizers have come out, you know. So yeah, it's they've got a lot right. That's why I suppose the GS hasn't really changed much over the years. It's just kind of evolved ever so slightly. I would like to get rid of a little bit of that road noise. I don't know whether you can kind of hear that, whether the camera's picking that up, but there is a little bit of road noise coming up through that tunnel, and I don't think it's the bike, and I don't think it's so much the tyres. I think it's just the noise that the tyres on the road. I think it's just road noise, simple as that, because the screen's keeping such a lot of wind off me. I've really got nothing else to listen to. I'm almost in a little quiet bubble, and all I can hear is what's coming up through that big hole in front of me. So I'm going to try and fill that hole a little bit and see what happens. Watch this space. So I'm guessing the camera is picking up the dash and the sat nav. You should be able to see that all pretty clearly there. But that all works really well. Anybody that knows me will know I like to ride with Waze on my phone, because I'll get notifications through my helmet there. And Waze also tells you where the speed cameras are. Not that I'd need to know, because of course I would never speed, but you know, if I was to consider speeding, it would warn me. And the sat nav, which is the BMW's version, well, not version, BMW used the Garmin Nav 6, works really well. It integrates with the bike extremely well. I haven't paired that with my phone as yet. I may do. I think there was some implication. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think there's a reason I decided not to do that for the time being. But the TFT, I think, probably has to be the best, clearest TFT I've ever seen. It's incredibly comprehensive in terms of what it shows you. I don't know whether you can you're picking any of that up there. I can't really remember. Hang on, wait a minute. Concentrate on what you're doing, Carl. So yeah, you can get all the details for the bike and all sorts of things there are popping up in front of me now, if you so choose, or just pop it back into normal mode. Quick shifter on this bike works quite well. Not the smoothest quick shifter I've ridden. I think the KTM quick shifter, was it the KTM or was it the Suzuki? I think it might have been the Suzuki actually, was the one I decided was the smoothest shifter that I've ever used. That was quite remarkable. So yeah, what I'm tending to do with this, depending on whether I'm in traffic or not, once I get into third gear, I'm tending to use the shifter, and other than that, I'm tending to use the clutch. You see the balance there? Absolutely remarkable. Not me, the bike. On a nice clear open road, the bike also tracks absolutely perfect. Again, I've never had a bike that tracks so well. You could ride the thing for kilometers without touching the handlebars, you know. If you just scratch your nose, wiggle your nose to the right, it turns right, and so on. Okay, so I'm going to bring this this little, not a review, this little chat just to an end now. I'm almost home now, so I just wanted to introduce you to the new bike, and as I said, we will shortly be saying goodbye to the MT-09 SP, which will be very sad. But yeah, I just thought I would show you the latest addition to the garage. So I will thank you once again for joining me at Handlebars and Holidays. Hope you've enjoyed this little whatever it was. I don't know what it was really. Hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, watch this space if you're interested in the 1250Gs, and I'm sure the things will happen and things will be done and things will be talked about. So stick with me. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Hit the like button, comment, always good to hear from people. But yes, thanks for joining me, and I will see you again soon. Some interesting things in the pipeline, so stick around, stick with me. Take care, and as always, ride safe.